You know, I think there are a lot of guys out there who are overlooking these fragrances that we're going to be going over in this video. They're not super loud, they're not super flashy, they're not the new, most popular, hottest thing going around right now, but that doesn't make them bad or inferior to what's, really popular. A lot of these are really good in their own unique way. And I think the fact that they're kind of under the radar a little bit is kind of a good thing, I guess, because it's almost like a hidden gem thing in the sense that, not everybody's going to be wearing them. So that's good. But I do want to make you guys aware of them so that way maybe you could utilize some of these if you are looking for something a bit new and different. And I should also clarify that I'm not saying each and every one of these is the most unique thing ever. But as far as broad spectrum, what's being used out there by a lot of guys, either in the community or out of the community, these really aren't it. So I'll link all of these down below if you want to pick any of these up. Shopping through discounters would be the best way to go and save you the most amount of money, so you can find links there. Now this first one is Mont Blanc Legend Red. So nothing about the Legend line is a hidden gem or anything like that, because the original is very popular, and so it has a lot of eyes on it, right? A lot of people are talking about it. Even still, it might not be as popular as it used to be, but they do have a few really good flankers. There's Legend Eau de Parfum, which is really good. I think it's a lot better than the Eau de Toilette. Legend Spirit is nice. Legend Night is great for an evening out. Has a little bit of a sweet cardamom touch to it. But Legend Red is not as popular. This one's got blood orange, cedarwood, and clary sage in here. I do like it. I like it quite a bit. Do I like it as much as, the Eau de Parfum or Spirit? It's right on the line. Not necessarily. I wouldn't say I like it more than those, but it can hang with them. As far as, summertime wear, Legend Spirit is going to be a pretty strong choice for me. And even the Eau de Parfum, it sounds pretty basic, but really they made some pretty big improvements with that one compared to the Eau de Toilette or the original. But this one, I still think, is a viable option that's worth picking up. And again, people just aren't going to be using this one, which gives you the opportunity to at least have something a little bit different. It's not going to be different to the point that people are put off by it and it smells really challenging or weird or anything. It kind of has a new style approach with the aromatic notes and some of that orange off the top and then a nice cedarwood dry down, right? But again, people aren't using this one, which is kind of what we're looking for. Another selling point for this one is the price. So again, talking retail, that's just not the way to go. It's going to be $80+ or something, probably, I'm assuming. But on discounters, you're going to get this one for well under $50. I think maybe in the $30 to $40 range, depending on where you're shopping. So that's a pretty reasonable price point for a scent that's very versatile and just a big people pleaser. Now this next one's a little bit more expensive, although not a ton. And I will say this, you're paying a little bit more for it compared to Legend Red, but I think the amount of value that you get in return for that difference in price is astronomical. I think this is a very unique designer release that most guys out there aren't going to be gravitating towards because it is a bit different and it's not super trendy and it's not a really popular style. So that gives you the opportunity to wear this one and have great results from it. It's Brioni Eau de Parfum Intense. It's got orange, apple, and oud in here. So kind of a tangerine, I believe, technically, as the orange, and then a nice fruity apple, and then a woody oud, a little bit of patchouli as well going on to kind of complement the oud. But essentially, it kind of opens up a little bit fruity and sweet, and then it dries down to a woodier, stronger, heavier style scent, which just really, it smells great. There's the notes I listed off, but one thing that I kind of pick up on that I don't really know if it's just the combination or what, but later on in the dry down, I almost get like an oak smell, like an oak style of woodiness. And that almost gives it just a little bit of this kind of slight boozy feel. When you look at a lot of popular boozy fragrances, especially from Kilian, they use a pretty prominent oak accord. And even not just Kilian, they might use that note with, a combination of a boozy note like in L'Homme Eau de Parfum or something, kind of going on a tangent. But a lot of times oak and some sort of bourbon or whiskey or boozy note kind of go hand in hand, kind of like vanilla and tonka bean or something like that. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of that feeling, even if it's not what they're going for or marketing or advertising, and even if that's not listed off, that's kind of what I pick up on. Again, not so much in the opening, but more as it dries down. But that opening does smell great, really, really nice and sweet and head-turning, attention-grabbing off the top. And the oud doesn't come through too strong. It's still going to be very pleasant to most people out there. But because of the way that this one is going to be advertised with those notes, the fact that it's not from a very big popular designer brand as far as fragrances go, you know, it's going to be kind of overlooked. So that is where, so you can grab this one and really stand out and smell different, but at the same time still be very appealing. Next up we have Hugo Boss Bottled Eau de Parfum. It's got apple, chestnut, and cinnamon. This stuff is phenomenal. Now, unfortunately, a few years ago, right, they took away Boss Bottled Intense, which is a bummer because that one was beautiful. It smelled like fall. It smelled like apple pie. I mean, it's amazing, right? So this one, it's not exactly like that, unfortunately. I wish that it was, and I wish that they took away the Intense and then just made the Eau de Parfum what the Intense was. They didn't do that, but you do get some of that cinnamon apple combination with a chestnut note, which gives it a bit of a different style of a gourmand approach, which chestnut is very popular these days. You use it in a lot of the Armani Stronger with You's, and just a lot of sweeter designer and I guess niche fragrances in general are kind of utilizing that just to give it a different type of like a nutty sweetness essentially. Kind of gives it a dessert smell, really nice note, you know, especially when it's utilized in the right way. It works great, and they did a good job with it here too. There are quite a few Boss bottled flankers at this point, and you know, I would say the new Elixir is probably one of the best that they've ever put out. I think that stuff is absolutely amazing. However, this one's still really good too, and it's just something that, even though it's been out for a few years, people just aren't really picking up on it and wearing it a ton. It's nowhere near as popular as the Intense or the Original or maybe a couple of the other flankers we've had over the years, you know, like even Boss Bottled Oud and things like that. This one, just a really, really nice kind of more under the radar release. Next up, we have a really solid coffee fragrance, right? And these can be kind of hit or miss. It just depends on if you like coffee, if you like the smell of it or not, right? So, you know, some people, they might not like the taste, but they might like the smell. Whatever it might be, you might just hate it altogether. So this one, you know, it's not going to be for everybody. Make sure you are aware of that going into it. But for the people who can appreciate the smell of coffee, you are going to like this one. It is Replica Coffee Break. This one has coffee, benzoin, and lavender, so a really, really nice, strong focal point on this roasted coffee note. And then you get kind of a soft kind of creaminess from this lavender-vanilla combination. It smells really, really nice, okay? And it's not just all coffee. Like I said, the vanilla, the lavender, those come through pretty strong too to give it just a smooth base. Bit of musk in the dry down as well, which adds a very slight freshness. And I can understand the thought process of not everybody wanting to smell like coffee, you know, just because you might like how coffee smells. You don't want to necessarily smell like you spilled a cup of it on yourself, right? So there's that aspect as well. So, you know, this is, again, going to be one that's a little bit more specific. Not everybody is going to be rushing out there and buying it, and probably not everybody's going to absolutely love it. However, it is a really nice, sexy, and seductive gourmand scent that is going to work really well for fall and winter time if that's kind of what you're looking for. Again, most people aren't going to be going for things like this. It's in department stores and stuff like that, but it's not what's really going to be, you know, drawing a lot of people in who are just shopping. So this is one you could pick up and stand out with big time. Next up, we have another Mont Blanc. This one is going to be Explorer Platinum. It's got violet leaves, clary sage, and cedarwood, another very simplistic note breakdown, and that's fine. It smells nothing like the original, so we'll put that out there. It smells nothing like the original, smells nothing like the blue as well, okay? So they're making this quite a bit different, which I don't think is a bad thing necessarily. Now, I do think it would have been kind of cool to make this a clone of Aventus cologne, being that the original Explorer is a clone of a Ventus, right? This one has a platinum kind of lighter look to it, you know, just kind of based off of presentation, right? And, you know, I think it would have made sense. Hey, you know, follow up and just make this a fresher version of a Ventus, just like a Ventus cologne. But they didn't do that, so this smells nothing like those. It's their answer to another modern style DNA, a woody aromatic smell, essentially, with a bit of a soapiness too. It's not the most unique thing ever, but at the same time, nobody else out there really is going to be wearing Explorer Platinum. It's not something that's really going to be popularized, and so people aren't really going to be touching it. At least comparatively speaking to the original Explorer, which is pretty popular for good reason. Now, one thing that does set this one apart is the violet leaf note. It's been used quite a bit, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still underutilized in my opinion. It's not an ambroxan, it's not a bergamot, it's not a vanilla or tonka bean or, you know, any fruit note, right? It is super unique and very distinct. When you smell violet leaf, I mean, you can easily pinpoint it. It kind of gives off this watery, ozonic type of smell, which is an overwhelming amount of freshness, which really brightens this one up quite a bit, which is nice because it is pretty woody and aromatic, which can give it a bit of a darker feel, especially that cedar wood. So this one can be used pretty much any time of year, spring, summer, fall, winter, whatever it is. Going to have a lot of versatility, and it's a good compliment getter. Let's go with Armani Stronger With You Leather up next. This is one that is obviously an exclusive edition. So you have your main line, which is the original, Intensely, Absolutely, and I guess Freeze, which is discontinued, but at one point it was a part of the main line. And then, you know, just like a lot of designer brands do, they kind of branch out and then start putting out exclusive editions, which are usually going to be more expensive and more exclusive, harder to get, and a lot of times just sold out more often than not. It's not really always the case with this one. It is a bit more expensive, but oftentimes it is in stock, but it just depends on what you're getting. Now, this one obviously has a leather accord in here, which smells nice, and that is absent throughout the rest of the line. So none of the others really use that note. This one does, which is a good focal point, but it still has that chestnut sweetness that a lot of the others do, which is what makes Stronger With You what it is. These kind of get compared a little bit to Replica by the Fireplace just because of that chestnut accord, which gives it this kind of sweet, woody, smoky, kind of, you know, fire type of smell, like burning wood almost, just that the way that it comes across, it really does give off that type of smell. And so that's kind of how these are. And that is going on here. Just the leather, it gives it a bit more of a masculine and textured smell, which I like. It just gives it a bit more of a bass note, you know, gives it a bit more punch in the dry down. This one's fantastic if you want to stand out a little bit compared to the original Stronger With You lineup. Last up for this video, we have Calvin Klein Defy Eau de Parfum. This one has orange, leather, and vetiver as a few of the main focal points here, and I love it. I think the original is pretty good, to be fair, and that one kind of got a bit of hate or pushback, which again, it's not something that's super exciting by any means, but for the price that it goes for now on discounters, it's a really nice wearable vetiver scent. This one is taking that same vetiver, just darkening it up with that leather accord, which smells great, and it works really well with that orange and kind of soapy woodiness that's going on. You know, leather is becoming a bit more popular. You know, I think it was definitely put on the map with, you know, a couple fragrances, I guess from Tom Ford really, that really got popular. Ombre leather, Tuscan leather, and of course there's more as well, but you know, we're seeing more of that popping up, which I like because it can be pretty versatile. It doesn't have to be super earthy and smoky and animalic smelling. It can be a pretty light, fresh vetiver, and that's kind of what you have here. So you still get tons of usability out of this one, and it's a very reasonable price online. This is yet another one that just isn't going to be, you know, everybody's go-to for the most part. It's just, it's not really in that spotlight. So if you want something that stands out and is just a little bit different than what most people are wearing, Defy Eau de Parfum by Calvin Klein is a good pickup for a good price. So there you guys go, a few fragrances that a lot of guys are overlooking. If you want to go against the grain a little bit, these are some good options for you. And really, for the most part, a lot of these are on the more affordable end, minus a couple of them. Links will be down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.